Winning by Jack Welch with Susie Welch. Picture this. It's 1963, and a brilliant, wildly ambitious 27-year-old chemical engineer named Jack Welch is running a small pilot plant for General Electric in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. He's working on a revolutionary new plastic when the unthinkable happens. A tank of volatile chemicals ignites. The explosion is massive, blowing the roof clean off the 3-story building and shattering windows for blocks. Smoke billows into the sky. Miraculously, no one's hurt, but the project is destroyed. And Jack's career? Well, he's convinced it's over. He's absolutely terrified that he's about to be fired. The next day, he's summoned to headquarters to meet with his boss's boss, a senior executive named Charlie Reed. Jack walks in, bracing for the worst. But Charlie doesn't yell. He doesn't fire him. Instead, he sits down and, with a calm, genuine curiosity, starts asking questions. What happened? What did you learn from this? How can we make sure it never happens again? In that single moment, Jack Welch didn't just keep his job. He learned one of the most profound lessons of his life about leadership, failure, and the incredible power of second chances. That young engineer would go on to become one of the most legendary and controversial business leaders of the 20th century. Over his 20 years as chairman and CEO of General Electric, he increased the company's value by a staggering 4,000%, transforming it into a global powerhouse worth over $400 billion. He earned the nickname Neutron Jack for his tough, no-nonsense management style, but Fortune magazine also named him Manager of the Century. After retiring, he traveled the world, speaking to tens of thousands of people, from students to entrepreneurs to chief executives. And they all asked him, in 1,000 different ways, the same fundamental question: what does it take to win? This summary answers that question. It's based on his landmark book, Winning, which distills everything he learned over a lifetime of competition. This isn't some dense academic textbook. It's a straight-talking, practical guide to success in business and in life. Here's my promise to you. By the end of our time together, you'll understand the simple, powerful, and often surprising rules that Jack Welch lived by. You'll learn the biggest dirty little secret in business, why he believed being tough was actually the kindest way to manage, and how you can apply these timeless principles to build your own winning career, starting right now. So, what exactly is winning? For Jack Welch, the answer was refreshingly simple. Winning is great. Not just good, but truly great. Because when businesses win, he argued, the world actually becomes a better place. People thrive and grow. There are more jobs and opportunities for everyone. People can send their kids to college, afford better health care, and secure a comfortable retirement. A winning company, he believed, is the engine of a healthy economy and the foundation of a free society. But that raises the real question. How do you actually win? Welch believed it wasn't about luck or complicated theories. It was about mastering a few fundamental ideas and executing them with relentless passion. He built his entire philosophy on a simple foundation, a set of 4 core principles that he called the ideas underneath it all. These were the pillars upon which every winning company and every winning career had to be built. The first pillar is having a clear, effective mission and values. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Mission statements are just those generic, noble-sounding plaques hanging in company lobbies, right? Things like, we value quality and service. Welch called that hot air. For him, a real mission statement answered only one question. How do we intend to win in this business? It's not about what you used to be good at, or a vague platitude designed not to offend anyone. It's a specific, concrete choice about where you'll play and how you'll beat the competition. When he became chief executive of General Electric in 1981, the mission was crystal clear. Be number 1 or number 2 in every market, or fix, sell, or close the business. There was zero ambiguity. Everyone knew exactly what it meant. It forced the company to make hard choices and allocate its resources, its money, and its people, only where they could truly dominate. But a mission is just a destination. The values are the roadmap. And again, Welch had no patience for generic virtues, like integrity or excellence. He said, integrity isn't a value, it's a ticket to the game. If you don't have it, you shouldn't even be on the field. Real values, he argued, are simply behaviors. They're specific nitty-gritty actions that describe exactly how people should behave to make the mission a reality. He saw a brilliant example of this after he retired, when J.P. Morgan Chase merged with Bank One. They had a value. We treat customers the way we would want to be treated. That sounds nice, but they didn't stop there. They listed out the specific behaviors. Never let profit center conflicts get in the way of doing what's right for the customer. Give customers a good, fair deal. Don't forget to say thank you. These weren't abstract ideas. They were marching orders. And for a company's mission and values to work, they have to be linked. Your values must directly support your mission. When they don't, you get a catastrophic disconnect, which he believed was at the heart of the collapses of companies like Enron and Arthur Andersen. Having a clear mission is one thing, but how do you get the best ideas to fulfill it? That brings us to Welch's second foundational principle, the one he called the biggest dirty little secret in business: candor. Lack of candor, he said, is a killer. It blocks smart ideas, slows down action, and prevents good people from contributing everything they've got. When he talked about a lack of candor, he wasn't talking about dishonesty. He was talking about the all-too-human tendency to soften bad news, avoid conflict, sugarcoat feedback, and hold back our true thoughts and opinions. We do it to be polite, to make people feel better. But Welch argued that this politeness is actually a form of self-interest. It makes our lives easier by helping us avoid messy, awkward conversations. In business, this is devastating. It creates bureaucracy, office politics, and endless, meaningless meetings where everyone nods along but no one says what they're really thinking. True candor gets more people into the conversation. When everyone feels safe to speak their mind, to debate, to challenge, and to push back, the best ideas emerge. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room. Candor also generates speed. Instead of ideas getting stuck in layers of politeness, they're surfaced, debated, and acted upon quickly. And finally, it cuts costs. It eliminates the nonsense, the fake reports, the endless PowerPoint decks, and replaces them with real, productive conversations. Welch admitted that fostering candor is incredibly hard. It fights against our very human nature. It took him nearly a decade at General Electric to make it a way of life. But he insisted it was the leader's job to demand it, to reward it, and, most importantly, to model it, even when it feels uncomfortable. He was famous for his blunt, straight-to-the-point style, and while it earned him the label abrasive early in his career, he was convinced it was the very thing that made his team so successful. This belief in facing reality, no matter how tough, leads directly to his third and most controversial principle: differentiation. To his critics, differentiation was cruel and Darwinian. To Welch, it was the fairest and most effective management system ever created. He learned it on the playground as a kid. When you picked a baseball team, you picked the best players first. The average players got put in the easy positions. And the least athletic kids, well, they usually found another game they were better at. In business, differentiation is the same idea, applied to both businesses and people. It's about making a clear distinction between your top-performing, middle-performing, and bottom-performing players. Specifically, Welch championed a system known as the 20-70-10. You identify the top 20% of your people, your stars. These are the ones who get it done, who live the values, and who energize everyone around them. You shower them with rewards, the biggest bonuses, stock options, praise, and opportunities. You make it clear to everyone that they are the best, and you treat them that way. Then you have the middle 70%. This group, Welch stressed, is the heart and soul of the company. They're enormously valuable, and the goal isn't to punish them, but to cultivate them. You give them training, positive feedback, and clear goals to help them improve. You manage them with care, looking for those with the potential to move up into the top 20. And then there's the bottom 10%. Here, Welch was unflinching. In a system of candor and clear performance reviews, he argued, people in the bottom 10% generally know who they are. They aren't a good fit for the job, and keeping them there is a form of false kindness. It's bad for the company because they drag down performance. It's bad for the team, which has to carry their weight. But most of all, he said, it's bad for the individuals themselves. He saw managers who were too nice to let underperformers go, so they carried them for years, giving them vague, positive feedback. Then, when a downturn hit and layoffs were necessary, these were the first people to be let go, often in their late 40s or 50s, completely blindsided and unprepared. That, Welch said, was the ultimate cruelty. Differentiation forces those tough conversations to happen early, giving people in the bottom 10 the chance to find a job or a company where their skills are a better fit and where they can truly excel and be happy. It's not about being mean, it's about being honest. This might sound harsh, but it's tied directly to the fourth and final pillar of his philosophy, voice and dignity. Welch believed that every single person, no matter their role or rank, wants the opportunity to speak their mind and be heard. They want to be respected for their work and their individuality. Early in his time as chief executive, he would hold marathon question-and-answer sessions at General Electric's Leadership Center in Crotonville. He was constantly peppered with detailed questions about local business issues, things their own bosses should have answered. When he asked them, "Why aren't you asking your own bosses these questions?" the answer was always the same: "I can't, I'd get killed." This was a revelation. He realized that the vast majority of people in most organizations stay silent because they feel they can't speak up, and they haven't been asked. To solve this, he created a process called workout. It was like a New England town meeting. Groups of 30 to 100 employees would gather for a few days with a facilitator to brainstorm better ways of doing things and tear down bureaucracy. The boss was there at the beginning to lay out the challenge, and then would leave. At the end, the boss would return and had to give an on-the-spot yes or no to 75% of the recommendations. Workout was revolutionary. It unleashed an explosion of productivity and creativity across the company. It brought, as Welch put it, every brain into the game. He famously recalled an appliance worker telling him, "For 25 years you paid for my hands when you could have had my brain as well. For nothing." By giving people a voice and the dignity of being heard, the company became infinitely smarter and stronger. So these four principles, mission and values, candor, differentiation, and voice and dignity, form the bedrock of winning. But how do you put them into practice? How do you build the engine? That's where we turn from the philosophy to the mechanics of running a company. And it all starts with leadership. Welch had a profound insight about the transition to leadership. Before you are a leader, he said, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. That single sentence captures the fundamental shift that must occur. It's not about you anymore. It's about them. He laid out 8 rules for leaders, which became his guideposts. First, leaders relentlessly upgrade their team. He saw a leader as a gardener, with a watering can in one hand and fertilizer in the other. Your job is to evaluate, coach, and build self-confidence in your people with every single encounter. A budget review isn't just about numbers. It's a chance to see your team in action. A plant tour isn't just about machines. It's an opportunity to spot promising new talent. Second, leaders make sure people not only see the vision, they live and breathe it. You have to talk about the vision so often that you get sick of hearing yourself say it. You have to be clear, simple, and passionate. And crucially, you have to reinforce it with rewards. As one of his friends said, "Show me a company's compensation plans, and I'll show you how its people behave." Third, leaders get into everyone's skin, exuding positive energy and optimism. A leader's mood is contagious. A pessimistic sourpuss leader will create an unhappy, losing team. An upbeat, can-do leader will create a team that feels like it can conquer any challenge. Fourth, Leaders establish trust with candor, transparency, and credit. Trust happens when leaders are real. They tell people where they stand. They don't hoard information. And they never, ever steal an idea from their own people. In bad times, they take responsibility. In good times, they generously pass around the praise. Fifth, leaders have the courage to make unpopular decisions and gut calls. You're not a leader to win a popularity contest, you're a leader to lead. Sometimes, you have to make hard calls that will make people unhappy. You listen, you explain, but you move forward. And sometimes, the hardest calls come from your gut. Welch believed that gut is simply pattern recognition. You've seen something so many times, you just know. You have to trust that feeling, even when the data isn't all there. Sixth, leaders probe and push with a curiosity that borders on skepticism. When you're an individual contributor, your job is to have all the answers. When you're a leader, your job is to have all the questions. You have to be comfortable being the dumbest person in the room, constantly asking, what if, and why not? And you have to make sure your questions are answered with action, not just head fakes. Seventh, leaders inspire risk-taking and learning by setting the example. If you want your people to experiment, you have to be willing to admit your own mistakes. Welch frequently told the story of blowing up that pilot plant, his first huge mistake. His boss's reaction taught him that failure isn't fatal, as long as you learn from it. And finally, rule number 8, leaders celebrate. Welch was amazed at how nervous managers are about celebrating. Maybe it doesn't seem professional, but winning should be fun. He argued that work is too much a part of life, not to recognize moments of achievement. You have to make a big deal out of them. It creates an atmosphere of recognition and positive energy. Now, if leadership is about growing others, your most important job as a leader is hiring. The team with the best players wins, Welch said. It's that simple. But hiring great people is brutally hard. He developed a framework to get it right. Before you even consider someone, they have to pass 3 acid tests: integrity, intelligence, and maturity. Integrity means they tell the truth and take responsibility. Intelligence isn't about fancy degrees, it's about intellectual curiosity. And maturity means they can handle stress and setbacks with grace, and success with humility. If they pass those tests, you then look for what he called the 4E and 1P framework. The first E is positive energy. These are people who thrive on action, relish change, and just love life. They're optimistic and enthusiastic. The second E is the ability to energize others. It's not just about giving inspiring speeches. It's about being able to inspire a team to take on the impossible and love doing it. The third E is edge. This is the courage to make tough yes or no decisions. They know when to stop analyzing and make a call, even without all the information. The fourth E is the ability to execute. This is the secret sauce. You can have energy, energize others, and have edge, but still not get over the finish line. People who can execute know how to put decisions into action and push them through to completion, no matter the obstacles. And if a candidate has all 4 E's, you look for the final P, passion, a heartfelt, deep excitement about the work. Passionate people care in their bones about winning, and they get a huge kick when the people around them succeed. Once you've hired these winners, you have to manage them. This leads us to people management, which Welch saw as the real work of any leader. He had 6 fundamental practices. 1. Elevate human resources to a position of power. He believed the head of human resources should be the second most important person in any organization, equal to the chief financial officer. Great human resources people are a hybrid of a pastor and a parent. They hear all sins without judgment, and they give it to you straight when you're off track. 2. Use a rigorous, non-bureaucratic evaluation system. People have to know where they stand. Feedback should be candid, consistent, and frequent. 3. Create effective mechanisms to motivate and retain. This means money, recognition, and training. Tie great performance to great rewards, both in the wallet and in the soul. 4. Face straight into charged relationships. This means dealing head-on with unions, but also with difficult personalities in the office. The brilliant but arrogant stars who need to be kept in check. The sliders, once good performers who have hit a wall and need to be re-energized or moved on. And the disruptors, who cause trouble for sport and need to be removed. 5. Fight gravity and treat the middle 70% like the heart and soul of the organization. Don't spend all your time on the stars and the troublemakers. The majority of your people are in the middle, and they need coaching, attention, and appreciation. And 6. Design a flat organization chart with blindingly clear responsibilities. Layers add complexity, slow things down, and create bureaucracy. Keep it simple and clear. Of course, sometimes people management involves the hardest task of all, parting ways. Firing someone is awful for both people involved. Welch laid out 2 guiding principles to do it right: no surprises and minimal humiliation. No surprises means that, through a system of candid and regular performance reviews, the person being let go should never be shocked. They should have seen it coming. The final conversation should be a mutual recognition that things aren't working out. Minimal humiliation means handling the departure with dignity. Welch described the emotional timeline. The boss feels anxiety beforehand, but relief afterward. The employee, even if prepared, feels crushed. The boss's job isn't over when the news is delivered. It's to help that person land softly, to build up their self-confidence, and to ensure they leave feeling respected, not destroyed. Every person who leaves, Welch reminded us, becomes an ambassador for your company, for better or for worse. So you've built a winning internal engine. Now you have to face the outside world, your competition. For Welch, strategy wasn't some complex scientific exercise. He mocked the 100-page reports and year-long studies. He said, in real life, strategy is actually very straightforward. You pick a general direction and implement like hell. The goal is to find your big aha, a smart, realistic way to gain a sustainable competitive advantage. To find it, he used a simple, 5-step process he called the 5 slides, because the answers to each set of questions could fit on a single page. Slide 1. What does the playing field look like now? Who are your competitors? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Slide 2. What has the competition been up to? What have they done in the past year to change the game? Slide 3. What have you been up to? What have you done to change the game? Comparing these 2 slides tells you if you're leading or chasing. Slide 4. What's around the corner? What scares you? What's the one thing a competitor could do to nail you? You can't be paranoid enough when answering this one. And slide 5. What's your winning move? This is the leap from analysis to action. What can you do to change the playing field and make customers stick to you like glue? Once you have your big aha, the rest is execution. You put the right people on it, and you relentlessly seek out and improve upon the best practices from anywhere you can find them. A key part of executing your strategy is budgeting, which Welch called the most ineffective practice in management. He said it sucks the energy, time, and big dreams out of an organization. He saw 2 killing dynamics. First, the negotiated settlement, where the field team sandbags their targets to minimize risk, and headquarters pushes for unrealistic growth, and they end up splitting the difference in a soul-crushing compromise. Second, the phony smile, where the field team presents an ambitious plan, headquarters smiles and nods, and then sends an email a few days later with completely different numbers, leaving the team feeling betrayed and demoralized. Welch's solution? Get rid of the budget. Replace it with an operating plan based on 2 simple questions. How can we beat last year's performance? And what is our competition doing? And how can we beat them? The key is to de-link compensation from hitting a fixed budget number. Instead, you reward people based on their performance relative to the prior year and the competition, taking into account the real-world environment. This transforms the process from an internal game of negotiation into an external, creative dialogue about growth and opportunity. This focus on growth leads to one of the most exciting parts of business: organic growth, or starting something new from inside something old. Welch saw companies make three common mistakes here. They don't give new ventures enough resources, especially their best people. They don't make enough fanfare about it. And they don't give it enough autonomy. His guidelines were the opposite. Flood the new venture with money and your best, hungriest people. Make an exaggerated commotion about it. And err on the side of freedom. Treat it like sending your kid to college. You monitor them, but you want them to take ownership. Let them have their own team, their own profit and loss statement, and the freedom to place their own bets. Finally, we come to the part of the journey that is about you. All these principles of winning in a company mean nothing if you can't win in your career. How do you find the right job? Welch said it's an iterative process. You take a job, you learn what you like and don't like, and you adjust. But there are signals to look for. The people. Do you genuinely like them and share their sensibilities? If you have to put on a persona every day, it's a career killer. The opportunity. Does the job feel like a stretch? You should be learning and growing, not just doing what you already know how to do. The options. Does this job open doors for your future? Does the company have a great reputation? Is it in a growing industry? The ownership. Are you taking this job for yourself or to please someone else, a parent, a spouse? Working to fulfill someone else's dream almost always catches up with you. And finally, the content. Does the stuff of the work excite you? Does it feel fun and meaningful? If a job doesn't light you up on some level, don't settle. Once you're in a job, how do you get promoted? Welch's advice was, sorry, no shortcuts. There are two main rules. First, deliver sensational performance, far beyond expectations, and expand your job beyond its boundaries. Don't just meet your goals, surprise your boss with new ideas that help the whole team. Second, don't make your boss use political capital to champion you. This is crucial. You drain your boss's political capital when you violate the company's values, when you're not candid, when you hog credit, or when you're just plain difficult to be around. Your results might be great, but if your boss has to defend you to everyone else, your career will stall. But what if you run into a hard spot, like that damn boss? Welch's first and most important piece of advice was, you cannot let yourself be a victim. It's your problem to solve. First, you have to do a mirror test. Is your boss a jerk to everyone or just to you? If it's just you, you need to ask yourself, honestly, if your performance or attitude is the problem. If you're sure it's not you, then you have to assess the situation. Is this boss on their way out? If so, you can wait. If not, you have to weigh the trade-offs. Is the job, the company, or the pay worth enduring this person? If it is, then you have to accept that you are staying by choice, and you forfeit your right to complain. If it's not worth it, you make a graceful exit plan. This leads to the final and perhaps most modern challenge: work-life balance. Welch was candid. He was no role model here. His life was work. But from his position as a manager of thousands, he learned how bosses really think about it, beyond the lip service. First, your boss's top priority is competitiveness. They want you to be happy, but only insofar as it helps the company win. Second, most bosses are willing to accommodate you if you've earned it with performance. He called it the chit system. Great performers accumulate chits, which they can trade for flexibility. Third, the real arrangements are negotiated one-on-one, not based on the company brochure. It's about a supportive culture, not formal policies. Fourth, people who publicly and constantly struggle with work-life balance get pigeonholed as uncommitted or ambivalent. The people who get it done quietly are the ones who are respected. And finally, even the most accommodating boss believes that work-life balance is your problem to solve. They expect you to figure it out. Welch saw a few best practices emerge. Compartmentalize. Be fully present wherever you are. Have the courage to say no to things outside your plan. And most importantly, make sure your plan doesn't leave you out. If you craft a perfectly balanced life, that makes everyone happy but yourself, it's not sustainable. One day you'll wake up miserable. Winning, in the end, is about making conscious choices, about your company's mission, about the people you hire, about your strategy, and about your own life, and then having the courage and the discipline to live with the consequences. As we step back from the incredible breadth of Jack Welch's playbook, one single, powerful theme shines through: reality. At its core, winning is a manifesto for facing the world as it is, not as we wish it would be. Welch's entire philosophy was a war against the comforting illusions, the polite fictions, and the bureaucratic nonsense that can cripple organizations and careers. Think about it. Candor is about speaking the truth, even when it's hard. Differentiation is about acknowledging the reality of performance differences, rather than pretending everyone is the same. A real mission is about confronting the brutal reality of your competitive landscape. A good budget is based on the reality of the market, not on internal fantasies. Even his advice on a bad boss starts with the unflinching question: is the reality that I'm the problem? In a world that often encourages us to sugarcoat, to hedge, to avoid difficult truths, this message is more vital than ever. It's a call to strip away the jargon and the complexity and get back to what truly matters. And this isn't just a book for future chief executives of Fortune 500 companies. The principles are universal, and they can be applied right now, no matter where you are in your journey. When you're working on a group project for school, are you practicing candor? Are you willing to tell a friend that their part of the presentation isn't up to scratch? Not to be mean, but because you want the whole team to win. That's Welch's philosophy in action. When you're picking a team for a pickup basketball game, or even a video game, are you practicing differentiation? You naturally pick the best players first because you want to win. You're putting your best resources where they can have the most impact. When a teacher gives you a tough but fair critique of your work, do you see it as a personal attack, or do you see it as an invaluable opportunity to learn and grow? That's facing reality. The beauty of winning is its raw, unvarnished simplicity. It demystifies the world of business and leadership, turning it from a complex science into a practical art. It's a reminder that success isn't about having all the answers, but about having the courage to ask the right questions and the discipline to act on the answers you find. So how can you start applying these ideas today? Here are 3 simple challenges. First, practice small acts of candor. This week, find a low-stakes opportunity to be more direct and honest than you normally would be. Maybe it's giving a friend constructive feedback on a project, or telling your parents what you really think about a family plan, but doing it with kindness and a desire for a better outcome. Second, the next time you're in a leadership role, even if it's just for a small project, consciously shift your mindset. Instead of thinking, "How can I shine?" ask yourself, "How can I make every single person on this team better?" Focus on building their confidence, giving them credit, and clearing roadblocks for them. Watch what happens. Third, take a hard look at your own work-life balance right now, your balance between schoolwork, friendships, hobbies, and rest. Are you making conscious choices, or are you just letting things happen to you? Are you owning your schedule, or are you letting it own you? Decide on one small change you can make to better align your time with your true priorities. That was a summary of Winning by Jack Welch. We've explored the core of his philosophy today, from the foundational principles of candor and differentiation to the practical advice on leadership, strategy, and managing your career. But a summary, no matter how detailed, is like looking at a map of a great city. It shows you the layout, but it can't convey the feeling of walking its streets, hearing its sounds, and discovering its hidden corners. The real power of this book lies in the stories, the blunt force clarity of Welch's voice, and the way his ideas challenge you, page after page. If anything we've discussed today has sparked a question, an idea, or a feeling of, "I need to know more about that," I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just an exercise in learning, It's an experience that could genuinely change how you approach every challenge and every opportunity in your life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey through Welch's world valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.